All right, now we're at the next pick in the greatest films of 1991 tier list ranking, and the next one, of course, is Terminator 2, which is one of the greatest sequels of all time. I mean, a lot of people would agree with this fact. I remember going to the theater when I was a little boy to the city. We drove into the city to see it. It was a packed house. It was the first real giant experience I had at a cinema. The whole place was packed with loud and exuberant cinema goers. I sat there and I watched the movie, and they were exclaiming throughout the entire thing. They were every little thing that would happen on screen. They were just expressing their joy, their anxieties, their fear. And it made the movie 100 times better for me. So even if there were flaws, which is hard to see flaws when you're a little kid, when you're watching a movie, you're just in awe. I kind of miss that, don't you? Like you just don't care if the plot makes sense. You're just so happy and grateful to be witnessing what you're witnessing. You're not nitpicking. When we grow up then and now and being adults, we're so like anal and just specifically we're so hey honey bear we've become perfectionists, haven't we? But and I don't think I'm just speaking for myself either. I think just seeing all of the opinions online when the movie comes out, and just judging a movie based on is it, nay or yay is kind of ridiculous. Little kids kind of don't think that way. And if they do, when they do, they're mimicking their friends or their parents, and their parents and their friends are mimicking what they've heard. So, but without having any of that poison in your mind or letting any of it in, you're just able to enjoy life and spectacles such as this. And I was fortunately able to do that because the audience in that theater allowed me that purity, allowed me that freedom to have fun. And it is an environment that's created. It's a gift, and I was given that gift on that day. And to this day, it's one of my most treasured cinema going memories. I have a few lists, maybe a top 5 cinema going list of just the top 5 greatest experiences I've had at the movies. And this is the first that I had. I don't know if it's the greatest, but because there's quite a few great ones. But this one might be, honestly, because I still to this day haven't had a crowd that loud. There were a couple. Like I went to a sneak preview of the movie 9 Months in the 90s, and it was like fresh off the Hugh Grant prostitute scandal. That whole crowd loved that movie, and that was great. The Blair Witch Project, people were sitting in the aisles. Everybody believed that it was real still at the time, like by everybody, most of the people, even if after the fact they don't like to admit that they thought it was real. It was in the environment. Everyone was just, I don't know why, I don't know how people thought it was real, that it was possible that you were watching a snuff film of sorts, but they believed it, and it made their experience all the more better. And if you didn't believe it, their insanity, was contagious. So you would, and I think that's what made me enjoy that movie, because I still haven't really, I went back once to see that movie, and it was all right, and it's never going to compare to that theatrical showing. Believe it or not, I actually prefer the sequel. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I like Blair Witch 2. I've seen a lot more than Blair Witch 1. There's just something about it that invites you back a lot easier. Okay, so Terminator 2. This is a James Cameron film. He has a very specific style. James Cameron handles the sequels well, doesn't he? I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet, but apparently it's great. I don't know. A lot of people seem to love it. It was even nominated for an Academy Award. So it's this one, though. It's Terminator 2 and Aliens, though, is what it is when you're talking about James Cameron's sequels. Him taking an original and then just reinventing it, adding to it, making it more explosive, just like elevating it in a way, just like everything, all of the scales, he just throws more on each scale until they're just, practically tipping over. And that's what you're supposed to do in a sequel. He just understands the way a sequel is supposed to be, the way it's supposed to go. And that is everything's louder, body count's higher. If you're doing it right and you really want a franchise to be born, the mythology gets richer, and everything is just, Terminator 2 does all of these things and then some. He even adds, as he is also known to do, some new top of the line, state of the art visual effects that we hadn't seen before. Now that's not true, because he actually had used this in his movie The Abyss before this, but the way he uses the melty morphing effects in this movie, it fits so perfectly. And this is when people think about that morphing effect, that early days of it, and they're not thinking of like that Michael Jackson black and white video. They're thinking of this before they're thinking of The Abyss. If anything, you think of Terminator 2, you think of the T-1000, played by Robert Patrick, and then you remember that The Abyss also had that stuff. It was just in a different way. The alien who can mimic shapes and stuff, and is like a water creature. Because this guy's basically T-1000. Not this guy. This is the T-100. But the T-1000, the bad guy in this movie, Robert Patrick, is he uses that water effect as well to change shape. And he can, like in The Abyss, he can look like different things. But he could actually go from water to actual, like a corporeal human and object. Even he can mimic objects and humans, pretty much anything, it makes it kind of like The Thing or The Hidden, where you don't know who's who type of thing. The camera doesn't play with it that much in this movie, but there are a few scenes where he plays with this conceit, and it works greatly. Like especially that scene where he mimics John Connor's mother, and she's on the phone, and she knifes Xander Berkeley in the mouth as he's drinking milk, which those of us who are fond of the movie Candyman, it's a joy to see. But that's a great scene. There's so many great scenes in this movie. And also obviously the I can't say obviously because I don't know if you're remembering this, but the famous twins that Joe Dante has used a few times, Gremlins 2, he used them in Back in Action. They're in this, but not as twins. But the fact that they are twins, James Cameron uses that to help sell an effect where a security guard at the insane asylum is paid a visit by himself, who is in actuality the T-1000. And of course, though, in actuality, in our reality, they are both twins. Playing the two roles. And there's another section of this movie where Cameron takes advantage of twins, but it's a deleted scene. You could actually catch it on YouTube as well as the DVD or the Blu-ray or whatever, where the Terminator is getting worked on. And it's like it's a shot that just pans around. He's getting worked on in the mirror by Sarah Connor, and then it moves around like this to where then you can see the mirror, the reflection in the mirror. You can see Sarah Connor in the reflection, and but which is all well and good. That's fine. That's normal. Why would you need visual effects? But there's like a giant like hole in the back of his head. There's it's all just exposed, and so you start to wonder how the hell did he do that? And how he did that is Linda Hamilton, who plays Sarah Connor, is actually a twin herself. So he just hired her twin sister, just shot the back of her head, and it's actual Linda Hamilton in the mirror reflection, which isn't a mirror at all. They cut a hole in the mirror, so it's actually a body double of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the back of him, the back of Linda Hamilton's twin, and then you got to check it out. It's actually quite amazing, and it's a shame that it's not in the movie because it's such an impressive pull off of a shot. I mean, it's nothing more than The Prestige, So this movie upon its initial release, there was a there was a secret in the trailers, in the advertising campaign. It was a showcase that Arnold Schwarzenegger here, unlike his portrayal of a character in the first Terminator, playing a bad guy, which that movie is kind of like a slasher movie in a way. People say that, but it's like, it is like closer to a horror film. In this movie, he's going to look exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same. He's older and he's more 90s Arnie in this one. But he's going to be playing a good guy this time. So that's the flip. That's the twist. But the way the movie plays out when you watch it, they're keeping it secret from you. At least it's designed that way. So it's a shame that so many people got spoiled in the marketing. Because even me going in, I knew that Arnold was going to be a good guy this time. But the way it's revealed in the movie would have been perfect if I hadn't known that. And so if anybody that hasn't seen this movie and you plan to show it to them, try to keep that fact from them, because their experience is going to be all the more richer and just more enjoyable in that moment in the hallway when you think the T-100 is going to shoot John Connor, and Sarah Connor believes it too. And then he says, "Get down," or whatever he says, and then shoots the T-1000 instead. It's a hell of a moment, because the way it's designed, you're not supposed to know that that's going to happen until it happens. Like, Robert Patrick as the T-1000 is looking for John Connor, but you assume that you don't even know that he's a cyborg at that point, the T-1000, Robert Patrick. You think he might be an actual cop hunting this guy down, or you think that he might be like a Kyle Reese character from the first Terminator. He might have traveled back in time like Kyle Reese. We just didn't see that part, Yeah, so if you're going to watch it, and anybody who's going to watch it for the first time, be sure to give them that experience of just ignorance, which is bliss at times. So yeah, the entire cast is amazing. The music, Brad Fiedel, I believe, did the score here, and dun 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 dun, and then when it just goes like, it's that epic string, like dun 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 do 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 do, it's just like, come on, it's like one of the greatest action scores of all time, and it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies were famous for these types of scores. Like another one of my favorites is Total Recall, the Jerry Goldsmith. It's a lot of like da 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 da. It's like a lot of like even Conan. Well, actually, what is it that rips off Conan? Well, Conan the Destroyer rips off Conan the Barbarian, but something else. I think it's Total Recall that rips off Conan, both Conans. But I prefer the Total Recall. It's like one of those scores, like Terminator 2 has this, Total Recall has this, where you'll just sit through this long ass opening credit sequence. Like the fonts and the way that the animation of the titles are going in and out is fancy and cool. But you're staying for the music. You're not bored. You're captivated. You're just like enthralled. You're like, oh, I can't wait. This is amazing. Sometimes I'll put it on, but like, yeah, this is a good idea. I'm glad I'm watching this again, because I'm like getting pumped by that opening credit sequence. Opening credit sequences used to pump us up and get us into the idea. Sometimes I might just like watch the damn opening credit sequence and just like, especially if I have something else to do that day, and shut the rest of the movie off and just like, okay, I got my fix. And that music, because if the music is good enough, it'll take you there. You could just listen to it in the car or something. You don't even need to watch the movie, because the minute you're listening to it, you are watching the movie. Visually, you're there. You're in your brain. It just takes you there. Yeah. What else? What else about this movie? Like everybody's great. Eddie Furlong. I believe this was his debut, and he does a great job here. This movie is funny too, in the way that the first Terminator wasn't as much. So everything, it's just amped. It's amped up to like 11 and then some. It doesn't even matter if this is like one of my top movies of all time, like if it's in my top 5, it's in my top 10. This movie, and this is a great movie, but regardless of where I would place it in an of all time list, this movie is a classic, right? So that's what I love about tier lists, is you could admit that a movie is classic, but personally, maybe you wouldn't put it in your top 3 or top 5 of all time. And that's Terminator 2. And it's actually, I haven't seen it in a bit, not that long, but I haven't seen it in a bit. So if I did watch it again, maybe I would change my tune about that. And then just like, you know what? This is top 3, top 5 of all time. This is quality in that respect. But it is quality, don't get me wrong. But this movie, no ifs, ands, or buts, robotic butts. This movie is a classic. You see? Classic. There it is. Classic. Thank you very much, and until next time, you know, I don't know. Have a good life.
Show up to the party with the wrong face in space. No one hears you scream like a primate. First dates can be long and hard.